Hi everybody, I'm Mary and I am going to show you our new heat treat procedure based on this wonderful cooling plate that John, our brilliant engineering boss, has designed. The heat treat process is we get the blades obviously go on the mill and they're roughed out, and then we do the detailing of putting all of the right holes and everything in the blade. The blade then comes out, it's just cleaned up. Then I run it through a process where I surface sand it to get all the burrs off it. From there, it goes over to the Scotch-Brite. I run it on the Scotch-Brite to make sure there's no little burrs that will end up puncturing that bag that we place it into. So once it comes off the Scotch-Brite, it's cleaned really, really well with Windex and etc. It then comes over here. We use an acetone. We use this acetone here to again clean the blades before we prep them. We're going to go in a foil bag to keep all the air out of them so they get slipped in the bag. Before we do that, we then tap them with baby powder on both sides of the blade in order to prevent the bag from sticking, and it would just be impossible to take the blade, the bag off the blade. So that's the process. Once they're slipped in the bag over here, we fold them all up, get the air out of them, and then they're ready. Once the oven hits 1925, we place the 6 blades in the oven. We let the temperature come back up to 1925. We then leave them in for 12 minutes, which gets them at the proper heat, and to move them to the next station of getting them into here, or to press them, get them flat, and then move on to the 2 hours of tempering. So that basically is the steps that I take in order to prep the blade from the mill through the process. Once it's out here, it gets back up. They have a look at it, they flatten it if they have to, and then it gets through the process again of where it gets on to lapping, and then it goes into the mill again for grinding and up for sharpening at the end. The really advantage of this is it's water cooled. One person now can operate it. I wish it was left-handed, but unfortunately I had to learn how to kind of awkwardly get around it, but I think I've got there. With the plate staying really cool now, we get a blade that's almost perfectly flat, and that's the whole objective of doing this. We used to do it manually with the plate and everything, but this little procedure here is just awesome. So let me give you a little demo, and we'll see if I can make this work. As soon as you open that oven, it's 1925 degrees, so for just a split second, you hesitate because it's so hot. So then you got to get your mind back into gear as to doing the procedure. So out comes the blade. You have 5 seconds to get this out. Get it into the plate. Get the plate on. Apply some pressure for about 40 seconds. That cools the plate off. Makes the blade nice and flat. After 40 seconds, I just give it another 20 or 30 seconds without pressure on. Cools the blade down just beautifully, so then I can handle it. Then get it into our little heat treat oven, our little tempering oven that we just, as you can tell, the tempering oven is the little mini-me of our big heat oven, and maintains the temperature at about 420 degrees, absolutely perfect to temper the blades for 2 hours. It was always done with just a plate that you lifted up and placed on the blade while it was still hot. The problem with that was we didn't have a perfectly flat surfaces, so you wouldn't get the blade as flat as we are now with this process with the particular constant weight from this lever. You know, John's been talking about building something just for quite a while, and now that he's done it, it's quite an amazing piece of engineering. It works just perfectly for our operation. So from here, I'm going to take it out of the bag and place it in our new tempering oven. Now, our old oven used to be a toaster oven. The toaster oven did the trick, but we couldn't keep the heat consistent with that 420 degrees for 2 hours. So finally, it kind of acted up a little bit on us, so we said, look, why don't we get another oven that's specifically designed for tempering blades? And this is what we came up with, and as I said, it's just a mini-me version of our big oven from the same company, and it works extremely well. The temperature stays right on 420. When we get the blades out after 2 hours, we then test them for hardness. They're around 59 or 60, which becomes ideal for blade sharpening to maintain the sharpness, prevent chipping and everything else. So we continue to improve our quality and the process so that our end product of the knife is the best quality materials and workmanship that we can put into it. So here we go. My blade's cool. Always important to touch it very lightly, because if it's still hot, you can get burned pretty bad. So I learned my lesson the hard way with the other plating, but with this new water cooled, you leave it in there for a minute to a minute and a half, you're pretty well get it. It almost feels like it's come out of the refrigerator. So we know that this process is working well. The other thing you'll notice is John has put a temperature gauge on it. So it tells us what the temperature of the water is that's coming through the plates. And from start to finish, after 6 blades, these plates barely go up 5 or 6 degrees Fahrenheit, which is just amazing. So these plates are staying extremely cool. Under the old process, where there was just me picking up a plate, putting it on and holding it down, after 2 blades you could feel the plates were extremely hot. And that, again, doesn't allow for getting the blade nice and flat. So this has accomplished so many things, and it's just a great in this whole heat treat process. Just the flatter the blade, the easier it is to grind. You get a better grind finish. Through the whole process, we then lap it, and we have to obviously engrave it, but the flatter the blade, just much easier to go through the next 2 or 3 processes, particularly grinding. And I said, when you look down the blade and see that it's nice and straight, Eric grinds it and then sharpens it, and it just adds to the ease and the better end finished product. So that's all I can tell you. Hopefully it's given you a little bit of an idea of how this process works, particularly how as we continue to improve our processes and just improve the end product of getting the best of the best. And it's just kind of really fun being part of that operation and learning these new processes, to know that when a customer gets a knife, he's got the absolute best knife that can be produced by both the machines and by hand. Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in to the heat treat video. Hope you enjoyed it, learned a little bit, and we'll see you next time.